Coming June 11th primary as Republicans and Democrats will choose their candidates for the upcoming November general election.
News 19's Shelly Garzone explains why this primary is so important and how it could change the face of our legislature.
There's a lot at stake on the ballot in June.
John Michael Catalano is the Public Information Officer with the South Carolina Election Commission. He says the primaries typically have less voter turnout.
Voter participation or voter turnout, it always tends to skew on the lower side for statewide primaries, or really for any election that's not the statewide election in November. Turnout does tend to be a struggle for primaries, so we don't expect a massive turnout for these primaries. Turnouts tended to be between 16 to 20%. Sometimes it's gotten a little bit higher than 20%.
The election will take place on June 11th with several races to keep an eye on, especially at our state house where new faces will try to win seats from incumbents.
Every single state house seat and state senate seat is up for grabs this year. That's 170 elections that are going to be taking place in South Carolina this year. Almost half of those are going to be elected by the primaries. But you also have other important races, like Lexington County's got a big sheriff's race that's going to be going on. You've got other races that are going on all throughout the area. And so this primary process is really to help determine who's going to be the candidate for a particular party once we get to the November election.
Dave Wilson is a conservative political strategist and says if voters want to see changes to leadership at the State House, now is the time.
When you take a look at the South Carolina Senate, 41% of the Senate is going to be elected by the end of the primary. 53% of the House is going to be elected by the primary.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the aisle, strategist Antoine Seawright says South Carolina voters have a tendency to sit the primaries out.
In South Carolina, we have a history of participating in the big elections, but leaving out, quote unquote, the not so big elections or the smaller elections. I like to remind people the closer your government is to you, the more important it is for you. So arguably your vote at the local level is just as or even more important as your vote for the quote unquote national bigger offices.
On the Democratic side, there are races Seawright says voters should look out for.
I think the Ott versus Harpootlian race for the South Carolina State Senate on the Democratic side is important. I think the Sumter, Kershaw, Richland, Lee County Senate seat that will be vacated because of the retirement of State Senator Thomas McElveen will be important. There is a pivotal sheriff's race over in Lexington County. There's some down ballot local races in Orangeburg counties. So throughout the Midlands, there are very much so important races on the ballot.
Shelly Garzone, News 19, WLTX.
Well, early voting for the primary starts a week from today and will end on June 7th.